Agenda is $3 million to borrow. We don't have the money, we're borrowing it, to do improvements in Everett Square. What improvements? My biggest complaint is that you're not telling the people exactly what you're spending money on. Number 12, once again, I think it's over $7,552,930. Once again, you're not telling the people what you're spending it on specifically. People want to know where their money's going, just as you do with your own home budgets. You want to know. At the last meeting, when Mr. Latanzi stated the administration didn't have the taste for telling the developers and construction companies that people of Everett wanted at least one parking space per apartment, why didn't the council tell him without it, the new zoning package was dead in the water? You represent the people of Everett, not the administration. It's not about what the administration wants, it's about what the people want. When it was asked if there would be community meetings to discuss the new zoning package, and they said no, there would be surveys. Why didn't you point out that the surveys for the ARPA money were a sham? And without community meetings to discuss it, this new package would be dead in the water. Once again, you're supposed to be representing the people. We want to know what's in these packages, and there should be discussion. These new laws are being written to help the developers and the construction companies, not to help the people of Everett. Aren't these the group making big donations to the guy in the corner office's campaign fund? Now, when the guy in the corner office can't win on the facts, the guy in the corner office has to try to destroy people who do tell the truth. First, he attacked Tony Raymond, a man who admits he made mistakes, paid his debt, and turned his life around. Tony only told the truth. He never threatened the guy in the corner office. None of us have. Now the guy in the corner office is going after John Popolo. What only crime he has is that he won at the casino and was partying. The charges against him were dropped. Perhaps the guy in the corner office should worry about the people who wish to do him harm. It's not any of us. This is absolutely, positively appalling. We never come before this board and lie to you. We're always telling you the truth. Why is the truth so threatening to the guy in the corner office? Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Paula Streety, and on both lists.
Ms. Streety.
Good evening, Paul Streety, 100 Cleveland Ave. I ask that the council vote no on borrowing any money for Everett Square. $3 million is nowhere near what is needed to address the appearance of the square. The city is a mess. People complain about potholes on the street. Try walking the sidewalks. When you're walking, you think you're going through an obstacle course. Maybe it's time for the audit on we have an audit on the budgeted money that has been spent by the department. The last 2 years, the mayor has requested $17.5 million from free cash to fill the revenue gap. I believe our free cash is about $12 to $14 million now. Given the mayor another 7.5 will deplete the free cash to about $5 to $7 million. Maybe it's time to request the mayor to cut or freeze spending. We obviously continue to have revenue and spending problems. Many residents have made changes in their personal lives to meet their budget needs. Maybe the city should do the same. The freebies and the waste have to stop. For over 2 years, I've tried to get an answer on what investments the developments have made in the city. Do any of you believe the water and sewage system can sustain another 10,000 apartments? Do any of you believe that Broadway, Gary, Chelsea Street, Spring Street, 2nd Street, Air Force Road, Tremont Street, Broadway, or School Street have the infrastructure to support the developments? If you look online, the rule of thumb for just police and fire combined is 4 to 5 people per 1,000. With the growth potential of adding another 20,000 people, we would need to hire another 100 public safety people alone. So all the tax revenue the mayor is so proud that was going to come in with the new development will only be providing to cover the costs for the new hires from the public safety, and that's not including the school system. I ask you to vote on the moratorium. Many of you heard the planning board beg the council to do something, at least start with the eliminating the TDM. Regarding the item on using credit cards for towing, I estimate the towing company is making about $3 million a year based on the tickets issued in 2002 and 2023, while the city is only making about $250,000 and $350,000. So I ask, stop towing cars for street cleaning and increase the ticket fees. Next, most of you have probably read Jim Mitchell's story with the ongoing attacks on Priya Taliani, Sergio Cornelio, and Tony Raymond with the latest edition of John Popolo. The stories that our tax dollars pay for are nothing but appalling attacks on anyone who doesn't kiss the ring of the mayor. It's been going on for years. It started with Mr. Capone, the mayor's opponent in 2021, then Mr. Marchese, then Sergio again, then last year, Ms. Elsie, then Margaret as a school committee member, and last year by Mr. Petrantoni as a city councilor. Tap off the nasty comments directed towards any school committee member that doesn't kiss the ring of the mayor. But these things ratcheted up last year with the personal attacks on Tony Raymond, a giant voice in seeking to expose the corruption and harassment of the mayor and his administration. But Tony wouldn't bend, and that meant escalating the lies that had him arrested for witness intimidation. But Friday's advocate exposed not only the people being weaponized against the residents of Everett, but the departments being used to harass and intimidate anyone who dares to speak out. Mitchell put in 2 public requests. The first on March 1st to the retirement board regarding a particular officer who was retiring and requested his files, reports, and videos. And a second request on March 18th to the police department asking the city solicitor for all information, including videos, arrest reports, and all that public information regarding John Popolo. And would you like to withdraw, and that he would like to withdraw his original request to the rezoning board, to the retirement board. I checked the police response, and they provided the details of John's arrest at the Encore and the medical attention he needed when he was held at the cell at the police station.
Thank you, Mr.
No,
Reedy.
I have to finish this. I'm sorry, I have to finish this. The police mentioned videoing his holding cell, and it was a critical point. Because
Thank you, Mr. Reedy. I have to cut you off.
No, this is no.
I apologize, but we have to follow our rules here, and I apologize, but I have to cut you off. Thank you.
John Popolo's rights were violated, and you guys don't care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Steve Aako.
And I'm going to ask, we have specific rules, and I would ask members of the community who appear before the city council simply to follow those rules, please. Mr. Aako, please.
Good evening, councilors. Tonight I'd like to talk about public safety and crosswalk maintenance. Johnny Popolo sent a letter last year for the lack of annual crosswalk maintenance. There was also an article in the best newspaper in the city exposing the deterioration crosswalk issue with pictures. Well, nothing was done. Numerous crosswalks are now to the point where they have completely disappeared due to the lack of public safety efforts by this administration. This issue was raised again this year. The chair stated he has a commitment from the administration to start maintenance this spring. Spring started last week, March 19th. What is the actual timeline to start? Will it really start, or will the funds be dumped into free cash? The administration should answer to the public why they have been so deteriorated for so long. All pedestrians, senior citizens, and children are at risk crossing where crosswalks have disappeared. Last week, Council Smith directed the public to identify crosswalks that need repainting and call 311 to report it. Well, 311 is not working very well for the citizens anymore, so that's a poor option. I find it appalling that with the taxes we pay, that the City Council put the responsibility to identify deteriorated, unrecognizable crosswalks for public safety as the responsibility of the residents to identify. What do we pay taxes for? What? Why doesn't the city have a handle on the crosswalks inspection inventory? We are talking about 3.5 square miles city here, not Manhattan or Boston. The former mayor of Boston, Mayor Menino, would never let this level of deterioration happen in his city on his watch, but not in Everett. I'd like to talk about another quick issue, excessive waste on attorney fees. Attorney fees in the city.
Mr. Aako. Unfortunately, I have to abide by the rules of the City Council, which only afford speakers 2 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Sandy Juliano.
Sandy Juliano signed in for both agenda and non-agenda. So, Ms. Juliano, you have 4 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's good because I have to finish other people's remarks.
Well, that's what rules are for.
Okay. Here's the rest of Paula's stuff. Mitchell put in 2 public requests, the first on March 1st to the Retirement Board regarding a particular officer who was retiring and requesting his files, reports, and videos, and a second on March 18th to the Police Department asking the city solicitor for all information, including videos, arrest reports, and other public information with respect to Everett resident John Popolo. And then he wanted to withdraw his request that he made a few weeks before to the Retirement Board. Paula checked the police report, and they provided the details of John's arrest at Encore and the need for medical attention while held in a holding cell at the police station. The police mentioned videoing his holding cell, and this is a critical point. The officer continued to video John while being cared for by an EMT as he was being prepped to go to the hospital to address his bleeding. But the video was not included in the police report to Mitchell. So the million-dollar question, how did Mitchell know the name of the officer who was involved in John's arrest and was retiring? Since his police request was submitted on March 18th, how did he know the name on March 1st? And how did he know there was a video, since that information wasn't provided until March 19th, but Mitchell asked the Retirement Board on March 1st? How did Mitchell get the photo of John? That was from Paula. I was going to talk about number 7, but I got to talk about John. I stand with John Popolo and Tony Raymond. I have an invoice here from the city of Everett dated May of 2023. It's detailing the bills paid to Reagan Communications. In this bill, it is actually stated that RDS built digital ads and campaigns to increase traffic and article reads of the Everett Advocate articles. We, the taxpayers, are paying for this garbage, okay? How do you explain that? I have had it with this city. Now, I can't talk about anything else. I'm too upset. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is John Popolo. He's on both.
Mr. Popolo. Agenda and non-agenda, you have 4 minutes, Mr. Popolo.
Good articles lately? Let's see. Sergio Einstein. Okay, thank you. Let me get my paper out. Agenda item number 7. I don't want to be repetitive. Peggy did an awesome job on everything. Request for borrowing $3 million, yet for another version of Everett Square improvements. How many times are we going to redo Everett Square and the parks? Do not consider approving, once again, this waste of taxpayers' funds. I am here tonight to speak freely without fear of retaliation about the excesses of this administration led by Mayor Carlos DeMaria. He attacks all those who are against him. He pretends to be a victim of all those calling into question his broken promises. Impersonal attacks against citizens of Everett like me. The mayor is vicious, vindictive, and retaliatory. He uses an assistant city solicitor who was recently arrested on a domestic violence charge in a local pretend newspaper that received city compensation to write his stories for him to attack those who criticize him. Everyone who knows the mayor and his crew understands this. No one should be surprised. This is the way he is. This is how he runs the city he believes he owns. You see, I'm just a watchdog resident, not the politician wasting millions of our taxes. His attacks on me and the others who speak out freely have given me strength and determination, reinforcing that what I am doing with the majority of this city, holding this mayor and his administration accountable to the residents, is worth every minute of speaking up on behalf of the city underdogs. The mayor and his paid lackeys will not silence me. The recent election results are a clear sign that he is losing control of the city. Attacking me will not help his accelerating downward spiral. Many residents are extremely tired of the waste, higher taxes, gross mismanagement, the bullying, and his vindictive retaliatory ways. Many city employees and residents live in fear to speak up because the mayor has proven he will viciously retaliate in many different ways against those who use free speech to criticize him. There is a long list of employees and residents that were purposely hurt by this mayor. Some sitting right here at this table and in this room. Well, this petulant child, king of lawsuits and settlements, will never control my narrative or scare me with his underhanded, divisive tactics. My City Hall accountability mission remains crystal clear. If you're not a donor or supporter, which there are fewer and fewer each day we expose the mayor's mismanagement, then you are a target. I strongly support the growing Dump the Maria movement. There is no law against this. I am fully prepared to weather the next attempt at a hit job. Many have experienced his vindictive retaliation. The Marcheses, Tony Raymond, the Philbins, Councilor Costa, Superintendent Taliani, his critics on the school committee and city council, the city clerk Cornelio, Girly Adrian, Girly Elsie Jaboom, Tom Abruzzi, Salvatore Sacchetta, just to name a few. The list is actually endless. For the record, I was arrested 2 years ago for disorderly conduct at the casino after having too much fun. So what? Who cares, right? I'm just a watchdog resident, not the politician wasting the millions. Dealing with my terminal cancer and all that it brings with it, my good time got away from me. So what? All charges were dismissed within 12 hours of 2 years ago. A real big deal, huh? Right now, the administration is attempting to do to me what they did to Tony Raymond by trumping up additional charges that don't really exist. He wants very badly to quiet me. He sends out his lawyer to plot against me and to plot against a city worker heading for retirement who needs the city's okay to finish off his work career.
Thank you, Mr. Popolo.
But he's apparently being told he can't do that unless he makes up new charges against me. Yes, this is how the administration works. He won't quiet me, nor can he quiet the public speakers who tell the truth before this council.
Thank you, Mr. Popolo.
Have a good night.
Our next speaker is David Fortin. He's only on one.
I didn't hear. Who was the next speaker? I couldn't hear over the applause.
I'm sorry, David Fortin.
Mr.
And then
Fortin,
Mary
please.
Fortin, and that's all.
David, two.
No, two.
Thank you. Mr. Fortin, please. Okay, thank you. Evening, Mr. Fortin.
Good evening, Mr. President. Good evening to you councilors. I'm David Fortin from Ward 4. This evening, I'm going to be discussing the Veterans Office in Everett. I would like to know what the correct hours are for their operation. Also, why they've changed locations. from the first to the second floor. I've asked this before. The hours for this office at the Connolly Center should be the same as the City Hall, I would think. Mondays and Thursdays from 8 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. or 4:30 p.m. Also, being disabled, why are you located on the second floor? To the Connolly Center, there's no elevator. The stairs are very narrow and very steep. I've been told by a few veterans that the reason for the move from floor to floor was to enable the part-time secretary to have more control over the office so she could play her games on the computer or fall asleep in the office. This has been seen and noted by by other veterans. This office is shared by her and her desk is separated by a partition from other desks. The office needs to be returned to the first floor where it's comfortable and where we can have access. In the city, our services range from the present time to the 60s, 70s, and 80s. I'm talking ages, and possibly some World War II vets, which would probably be in their 90s. Illnesses that are seen ordinarily are PTSD, to other war injuries, Agent Orange victims, contaminated water victims, etc. Please don't kick us to the curb. Again, I'm going to ask what the reason was for the move. That's very important. Our veterans should be respected. We are all a family of strangers, but nonetheless, we need to care about each other, and that includes those who work for us. What is the criteria for the Veterans Administration and the Veterans Administration Coordinator? If I can get this page over here. What is the criteria needed for this position in this city? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Foron. Next speaker, please.
Mary Ford.
Mary Fortin, you are signed for both agenda and non-agenda items, so you have 4 minutes to address the City Council.
Good evening. I've been up here before all of you before. You know who I am. My name is Mary Fortin. I live on Cedar Terrace in Everett. I listened to all that's going on, and I read the sheet for tonight. Money goes everywhere, but nobody knows why. There's no recall. There's no notice. If I worked my budget like that, or you did, and then comes time to pay your rent or your mortgage, there'd be a problem. Nobody would say your mother's not there, just say, well, what were you doing? Well, how come you didn't figure it all out ahead of time? Well, that's what the public is saying to the mayor. Stop it. I really think it's important that you request a state audit be done so you know exactly where you stand and what is what. He's gotten away with too much already. We don't know anything what's going on. All we know is money keeps coming out. If I ran my account like that, there'd be trouble. Thank God I don't. He doesn't ask us. He doesn't put it before the voters. Never. He just does it. What if we didn't want it done? Isn't that our right? We're paying the bill. It's time to find out what is going on. A state audit is necessary. I've spoken to the state auditor. She requests that, personally, I can't request a state audit be done, but the Common Council can, and the school committee can, and they should.